The English Nurse by Professor Charles Lane Olmsted. Chapter 7, Illnesses and Diseases, a Gimcheon University presentation. Vocabulary: cancer, cancer. Diabetes, diabetes. Pneumonia, pneumonia. Congestion, congestion. Tuberculosis, tuberculosis. Malaria, malaria. Rabies, rabies. Hepatitis, hepatitis. Asthma, asthma. Encephalitis, encephalitis. Obesity, obesity. Stroke, stroke. Influenza, influenza. Leukemia, leukemia. Aneurysm, aneurysm. Bronchitis, bronchitis. Cirrhosis, cirrhosis. Heart attack, heart attack. Acid reflux, acid reflux. Polio, polio. Cystitis, cystitis. Appendicitis, appendicitis. Ischemia, ischemia. Embolism, embolism. Cystic fibrosis, cystic fibrosis. Thrombus, thrombus. Contagious, contagious. Myocardial infarction, myocardial infarction. Tumor, tumor. Diverticulitis, diverticulitis. Sentence patterns. Even though they occurred centuries ago, there are still cases of malaria. Even though they occurred centuries ago, there are still cases of tuberculosis. Is there a history of cancer in your family? Is there a history of heart problems in your family? Is there a history of diabetes in your family? Obesity can lead to other problems such as hypertension. Obesity can lead to other problems such as high cholesterol. Obesity can lead to other problems such as stroke. You have appendicitis, but don't worry, you got here in time. You have bronchitis, but don't worry, you got here in time. You have encephalitis, but don't worry, you got here in time. Prefixes, suffixes, abbreviations. Asthenia, loss of strength, energy, a condition of debility. Myasthenia, loss of muscle strength. Emesis, to vomit. Hemetesis, to vomit blood. EMIA, related to blood pathology or abnormal blood condition. Anemia, lack of blood. LYSIS, breaking down of membrane of cell. Hemolysis, destruction of red blood cells. PATHY, disease. Cardiomyopathy, chronic disease of the heart muscle. PENIA, refers to the lack or deficiency. Osteopenia, reduced bone mass. PHAGE, related to eating, ingestion, or swallowing. Dysphagia, difficulty in swallowing. PLASIA, formation of cells. Hypoplasia, arrested development of organ or a part below normal size. PLEGIA, meaning paralysis. Paraplasia, paralysis of legs and lower body. PNEA, related to breathing, respiration. Apnea, temporary cessation of breathing. Thermia, generation of heat. Hypothermia, having abnormally low body temperature. Urea, meaning the presence of substance in the urine. Polyuria, tendency to urinate. Carcin, cancer. Carcinoma, malignant tumor of epithelia origin. DYS, difficult or painful. Dyspepsia, painful or difficult digestion. Endo or end, within, inner, absorbing. Endoscopy, a type of exam passed into the body. Lipo, pertaining to fat. Liposuction, removing excess fat by suction. And onco or oncho, indicating tumor, bulk. Oncology, study and treatment of tumors. ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, degenerative disease of the motor neurons characterized by weaknesses and atrophy of the muscles, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. CAD, coronary artery disease, abnormal condition that may produce pathological effects and reduce flow of O2 and nutrients to the heart. BUN, blood urea nitrogen, test to determine how well your kidneys are working. FBS, fasting blood sugar, determines blood glucose level after fasting for at least 8 hours. Sentences. He has pneumonia and is having trouble breathing with so much congestion. Diabetes runs in my family, so I get my glucose checked every month. Hopefully there will be a vaccine for some cancer soon. Tuberculosis, a big killer in the 1800s, was called consumption because it consumed your lungs. My dog bit my friend and he has to get a rabies shot now. If you want to visit certain places in South America, you need to get a malaria shot. He has asthma, so he keeps his inhaler on him at all times. There are 2 types of hepatitis, and C is the real bad one. He suffered from obesity last year, but walked an hour a day and has lost 25 kilograms. People get very anxious when they hear they have encephalitis. My father died of a myocardial infarction or heart attack last year. A friend died instantly of a brain aneurysm. The influenza pandemic killed between 50 and 100 million people from 1918 to 1920. Leukemia can be treated if found early enough. Her ex-husband drinks all the time and is diagnosed with cirrhosis. I ate a lot of ice cream when I had my tonsils out. I can't eat spicy food anymore because acid reflux burns my throat. I had appendicitis, so Mother rushed me to the hospital and they took my appendix out. The doctor warned me about thrombus when I got vaccinated. I had a temporary ischemia or mini stroke which scared me and put me in the hospital for 3 days. You have diverticulitis, which has inflamed your system, so we will cut out about 10 centimeters of your intestine. She was improving from the heart attack, but a fat embolism killed her. Diseases such as tuberculosis, the flu, and bronchitis are contagious. We got all of the tumor, so you should notice a big change in digestion. Conversation A between Una and the nurse. What did the doctor call my husband's condition? Ischemia. More precisely, temporary ischemic attack. It's like a mini stroke. Plaque in the arteries builds up and shuts off blood flow for a while. What does he need to do? From what he said, he doesn't exercise, and he has a bad eating habit. He weighs 153 kilograms. Plus, he has a prescription which should help him thin his blood. I need to go on a diet too. We've tried, but we just don't stay on them. Don't go on a crash diet. Just go walking every day. Start with 15 minutes in the morning and then in the evening. Then move up to 30 minutes and so on. Start drinking more water. Eat fruit. We like to eat too much, especially hamburgers and pizza. You still can, just not every day. You don't have to eat salad every day. Grill some veggies, and once or twice a week, get that burger or pizza. We can do that. Here is some info on a healthier lifestyle. We call the TIA a wake-up call. What is suggested for the patient? How much does he weigh? Is that healthy? What are other problems that could develop because of his weight? Discussion questions. Why do you think they have quit diets before? Does this sound like a sensible plan? Why or why not? Conversation B between the doctor and patient. I have your test results, and it is what I expected. Is it diabetes? Yes, it is type 2, and we caught it early, so if you work at it, it won't be that serious. What would I need to do? Improve your diet and lifestyle, specifically exercise. Cut back on sugar and alcohol. Isn't there 2 more diabetes? Is this the best one to have? There are 3 main ones. You aren't pregnant, so gestational is out of the question, which leaves type 1. Type 2 is when there is insufficient insulin production, causing high blood sugar. Type 1 is when there is little or no insulin. You are thirsty, urinating a lot, hungry, and sudden weight loss. You don't want to get to 1. Are there more? There is diabetes insipidus, which is very rare. It causes an imbalance of fluids in your body. You create a large amount of urine, and you are always thirsty, even if you just drank something. I do get thirsty. This is very rare, and there is no cure. The average person urinates on average 1 to 2 quarts a day, but with this, it could be 20 quarts a day. Wow, you would have to be in the bathroom all day. Reading pandemics. The novel coronavirus, or COVID-19, brought the world to a halt early in 2020 as countries closed borders and restricted movement inside as it tried to deal with the new pandemic that quickly spread. No place and no group of people were spared. Poor and rich people, government leaders, entertainers, and royalty alike caught the airborne virus. The COVID-19 was first discovered in China in November 2019, and in less than 5 months had spread across the world. But by December 2020, vaccines were already being administered. After 2 years, different variants had mutated to a weakened state and combined with enough people who had been vaccinated or been sick to allow the world to return to a level of normal. There have been different pandemics throughout history. The coronavirus is just the latest, and despite the much larger population and more mobility, it's not the deadliest. The Black Plague killed 75 to 200 million people in the mid-1300s across Eurasia and Africa. The world's population at the time was about 450 million, so close to half the people could have died. It was transmitted mainly by fleas on rats. The 1918 influenza killed at least 50 million people between 1918 and 1920. Symptoms were typically sore throat, fever, and headache for the first wave, but the second wave symptoms were bacterial pneumonia, which often was the cause of death. It infected about 500 million people, or about 1/3 of the world's population during its 4 waves. That pandemic started in the last year of World War I, when there was massive troop movement throughout North America and Europe. Usually older people are the most vulnerable, but because of the crowded conditions and situation, it was the younger generation to be infected most. There was never a vaccine developed, it just died out on its own. In the mid-500s, boats arrived in the Roman Empire from Egypt, carrying supplies, but also a deadly disease. The disease carried by rats would kill about 25 million people. Constantinople would see about 40% of its population stricken and killed. There were so many dead for a time, the dead were just left in piles on the street.